Welcome to Mr. Mac's Physics channel. He can explain things really well and is a lot of fun to watch.
So let's look at kinematics, and you can see from the picture that this deals with speed and velocity, and if you look very carefully you can see around about here the speedo is reading 270 kilometers an hour in this BMW M series, going very fast along the autobahn where it's legal to go that fast. So what is kinematics? Kinematics is a science of describing the motion of objects using words, diagrams, numbers, graphs and equations. It's a branch of mechanics. And the goal of any study of kinematics is to develop sophisticated mental models that serve to describe and ultimately explain the motion of real-world objects. Please notice the two different verbs here, describe and explain. So describing, we're looking at adjectives, what we see, how it occurs. For explain, we're looking at cause and effect and trying to work out what is the effect of particular forces that cause the motion. So when we're describing, one way we can do that is using a graph. In this graph, we can describe a trip. Perhaps it's a car that's going from A to F, and it starts off at 0. And so the location is 0 kilometers from the start at A. And then it travels for 5 hours. So here is 5, and it gets to point B. And point B is 3 kilometers away from the starting point. Then it stays there for 3 hours until 8 o'clock, or 8 hours after the start. And then it speeds away, this time a little bit faster, for 4 hours till it gets to D. And D is 12 kilometers from the start, where there's a rest for a couple of hours. And then from E to F, you can see that the car goes back to its starting point at a constant velocity. And how do we know it's a constant velocity? It's because the line is at the same slope all the way. So we've travelled 12 kilometres and the whole trip has taken 20 hours. Here's another graph. This describes a high-speed train trip, showing the first 100 minutes of the trip. And along this axis, it's not hours this time, but minutes. And we've got the speed in kilometres per hour. And so the task for you is to describe this high-speed train trip. I'll just put it up to the side and we'll work through this example. So you can see initially at time 0 that the speed is 0. After 20 minutes you can see that the speed is now 100 kilometers an hour here, and the speed at this point stays the same for another 20 minutes. But in the first 20 minutes you can see the train speed increased steadily to 100 kilometers an hour, and then at t equals 40 the speed is 100. So the train moved at a constant speed of 100 kilometers an hour for the next 20 minutes. Then you can see that at t equals 50 on the axis here, the speed jumps up to 200 kilometers an hour. So that the train accelerated smoothly to a speed of 200 kilometers an hour over the next 10 minutes. It stayed at that speed. It moved at a constant speed of 200 kilometers per hour for the next 20 minutes. Notice we're dealing with the speed. It's almost like we're looking at the speedo on the train. And then the final 30 minutes, we notice that it's constant slowing down until it's at 0. So the train slowed down steadily over 30 minutes to stop.